Welcome to the Leaders Insights podcast. Today's episode, when the forecast is always wrong, how CFOs are rebuilding FP&A from the ground up. Most CFOs I talk to will admit off the record that their forecasts are essentially fiction by the time they hit the board deck. So why has it taken this long to fix it?
Because for years, the incentive was to look certain, not to be accurate. Boards rewarded confidence. So finance teams built elaborate models that projected precision, 3 decimal places on revenue assumptions, when the underlying logic was just extrapolating last year with a haircut. The pandemic broke that illusion for a lot of companies, but many rebuilt the same system afterward.
So what's actually broken at the structural level?
3 things. First, the planning cycle itself. Most companies are still running annual budgets with quarterly reforecasts, which means you're working from assumptions that are already 4 to 6 months stale. Second, the data pipeline. Finance is pulling from ERP systems that close on a 30-day lag. You're literally navigating in the rearview mirror. Third, and this is the cultural problem, FP&A teams are spending roughly 60% of their time on data assembly rather than analysis. I've seen this repeatedly. Gartner put a number on it in their 2025 CFO survey, flagging that figure as consistent across industries.
Give me a concrete example of a company that broke that cycle.
Schneider Electric is a good one. They moved to a rolling 13-week cash and revenue forecast updated weekly, tied directly to operational signals, order intake, logistics data, supplier lead times, rather than waiting for accounting close. Their FP&A team went from being reporters of history to running scenario desks. When input costs spiked in early 2026, they had a modeled response ready within 48 hours rather than waiting for month-end.
That sounds like a significant technology investment. How do you justify that to a board that's watching margins closely?
You reframe the cost of inaccuracy. If your forecast is off by 4% on revenue, what does that cost you in misallocated CapEx, overstaffing, or missed M&A timing? At a company doing $2 billion in revenue, 4% is $80 million of decisions made on bad information. The technology investment, whether that's a platform like Anaplan or a more custom data infrastructure, is almost always cheaper than that error rate compounded over 2 or 3 planning cycles.
What about the talent side? You can have the best system in the world and still have analysts who think their job is to defend the number.
That's the harder problem. The CFOs who are getting this right are hiring what I'd call commercially minded finance people who've sat in sales or operations and understand how value actually moves through the business. They're not hiring more accountants, and they're being explicit that the goal of FP&A is to reduce decision latency for the CEO, not to produce a document.
One thing a CFO should do this quarter to start the rebuild?
Audit where your forecast variance actually comes from, not the magnitude, the source. Most CFOs discover that 70 to 80% of their error traces back to 2 or 3 assumptions. Fix those first. Everything else is decoration.
To go further, Leaders Insights offers strategic training programs, diagnostic tools, and an executive self-assessment designed for CMOs, CDOs, CFOs, and leaders aiming for board-level performance. Explore everything at mba-training.com. Thank you for listening to the Leaders Insights podcast. See you tomorrow for another episode.